And from Rays of the One Light, weekly commentaries on the Bible and the Bhagavad Gita, written by Swami Kriyananda, based on the teachings of Paramhansa Yogananda. The redeeming light. Truth is one and eternal. Realize oneness with it in your deathless self within. The book of Isaiah tells us, the people that walked in darkness have seen a great light. They that dwell in the land of the shadow of death, upon them hath the light shined. What is this light of which so many scriptures speak? In Autobiography of a Yogi by Paramhansa Yogananda, we read of an early experience the Master had with this light. He says, I was blessed about the age of 8 with a wonderful healing through the photograph of Lahiri Mahashaya. The experience gave intensification to my divine love. While at our family estate in Ichapur, Bengal, I was stricken with Asiatic cholera. My life was despaired of. The doctors could do nothing. At my bedside, Mother frantically motioned me to look at Lahiri Mahashaya's picture on the wall above my head. Bow to him mentally. She knew I was too feeble even to lift my hands in salutation. If you really show your devotion and inwardly kneel before him, your life will be spared. I gazed at his photograph and saw there a blinding light, enveloping my body and the entire room. My nausea and other uncontrollable symptoms disappeared. I was well. At once I felt strong enough to bend over and touch Mother's feet in appreciation of her immeasurable faith in her Guru. Mother pressed her head repeatedly against the little picture. O omnipresent Master, I thank thee that thy light hath healed my son. I realized that she too had witnessed the luminous blaze through which I had instantly recovered from a usually fatal disease. Where my light is, God once told a saint whom the divine light had healed, no darkness can dwell. The divine light, pure, calm, liberating, is the only final cure for every kind of delusion. Ill health, emotional grief, and spiritual ignorance. Seek it daily in the silence, in deep meditation. As the Bhagavad Gita says, for whom that darkness of the soul is chased by light, splendid and clear shines manifest the truth, as if a sun of wisdom sprang to shed its beams of light. Thus, through Holy Scripture, God has spoken to mankind. Om, Om, Om. That immeasurable faith that Yogananda's mother had in her Guru, that's the kind of faith that we need to cultivate. To have that trust in God, knowing that He can do anything, that He's not limited by our little limitations. That's what we need to have in ourselves. And if we have that faith, we will be blessed, just as Yogananda and his mother were blessed, with that vision of the divine light. Swami Kriyananda says in interesting thing in his writing, well, many interesting things, but the thing I'm thinking of is that he says that we're understanding through science that matter is only a manifestation of divine energy. It says that in the Festival of Light, too. Matter is energy. So what that means is that this body that we think is so real, that gives us so much trouble, that's such a burden sometimes, that body is only a holding pattern of energy. The way Swami puts it is, it's an ever-changing cloud of energy. Isn't that an interesting way of thinking about ourselves? And because we are energy, we are also light. Yogananda said to a group of his disciples who were gathered by the ocean one day in Encinitas, he said, I see you all as light. You have no idea how beautiful everything is. So that is our true soul nature. That's our soul's reality. And is actually the other meaning of soul. It's the only reality. Our vision is clouded by our perception that's limited to the five senses. We have to get deeper. We have to explore the inner realms so that we can realize our path is self-realization. We have to realize that self as divine light. I was exploring an interesting fact recently, which is that in our solar system, 99% of the matter in our entire solar system, 99% is in the sun. That leaves 2% for all the rest of the solar system, all the other planets. And of that 2% that's left, most of it is in Saturn and Jupiter. So what does that make us? We may feel like we're carrying around a little too much weight, but the truth is we have very little weight. Very, very little. And I was looking at a picture of our sun, who obviously is the heavyweight in our solar system, but compare the sun to Antares or Betelgeuse, and the sun is a little dot. Have perspective is my point. All of these problems and issues and relationships and financial dramas and political dramas and all of that static, is it really worth having it in your cloud of energy? Your ever-changing holding pattern of energy? Let's instead surround ourselves and the mental diet that we ingest with goodness, with the scriptures, with hearing the word of God, hearing the truth, affirming our deepest reality. That's where the bliss is. Why do I often say, read the scriptures, or listen to Swami reading the scriptures, or listen to these talks by Swami? Because I have felt bliss in it. And I want you to feel that bliss too. When we hear the truth, it resonates with our soul nature, with that Kundalini energy at the base of the spine, or however you want to think of it. It resonates because that's what we really are. We have been given this little scrap of matter. When you think of it in those cosmic terms, it's hardly a dust mote. It's just this little flotsam and jetsam. It's nothing. It's just immaterial. But yet we're focused on it. And in this dimension, that's what we see. That's what we hear. That's what we think about. And so that's what we know. But the scriptures are here to tell us that we are so much more. That we're just learning some very valuable and important lessons, one of which is to attune our energy to God's energy. First, we have to marshal our own energy. We have to put out energy through the ego, through our actions, and then through the compassionate law of karma, we learn the right way or the painful way to act, to think, to be in this world. All the suffering that we go through, we think, why, Lord? Why me? Why is this happening? Well, it's happening because we did something that triggered it, that we needed to learn. That was not the way to go. You put your hand on the hot stove and you learn, oh, I shouldn't do that. That's all that karma is. It's guiding us into right action. And then we realize, okay, I can marshal my energy, but I'm just this little scrap of flesh and blood. What am I compared with Antares? So let me, instead of trying to exert my will, which doesn't have a whole lot of weight to it, let me plug into the divine will. Let me attune myself to that infinite source of bliss and joy and freedom and light, that redeeming light. I want to play on their team. I don't want to just be wandering around, like Dharmadas said during the fire ceremony, like a blind giant in the catacombs bumping into everything, creating more and more karma, more and more suffering, more and more darkness. Why would we want to do that? Let's instead tune our will to God's will and live in this world in freedom. And how do we get there? Well, that's why I wanted to sing that chant, I want only thee, Lord. It's not as though we don't want lunch or we don't want all kinds of things or people or situations or circumstances to be certain ways. We still do. We have those little attachments that we're getting rid of. But if we affirm and make that the song going through our minds and hearts, I want only thee, Lord. I don't want this other stuff. I want thee. He will come. That's the song he's been waiting to hear. That's your song. And he loves you. And all of this that we've gone through, all these many incarnations, life after life, death after death, living in fear, living in sadness, living in grief and pain and attachment, all those constrictions of the heart, what God wants for us now is to soar in light, to be one with that redeeming light. There was a song in the 40s that Swami liked very much, and the words, he turned from personal love to divine love, and the words were, I played a game of stay away, but it cost much too dear. I surrender, dear. And we have played that game through incarnation after incarnation of chasing this or that like a child chasing butterflies. But you can't catch all those butterflies of desire. They're always just out of reach. If we go to God, if we seek Him first, all that we desire will be given to us. And we won't even care, because we have that supreme gift. The Gita calls God the supremely relishable. As Yogananda said, that joy that is ever new. That's what we need to strive for and to relax into, to open our hearts to receive that redeeming light that is ever ours and ever waiting for us to realize it.
Before I address the topic, which is fascinating, I want to just thank you all for coming. It's we've been here, but we've been here by ourselves and a camera and Chaitanya, and which has been an interesting adventure. Last night, Nirmala and I did a satsang with Ananda Ananda in India, which was their Sunday service. It was 10 o'clock in the morning their time, and it was late in the night for us. And we were on a Zoom connection with the hosts there, Shurjo and Narayani, who have been here, by the way, for those who remember, wonderful couple. And so they introduced us and got the whole thing started, but it was happening on Facebook by means that I can't claim to understand entirely. Anyway, at a certain point, the Zoom has this little protocol where if you start recording it, it announces to the whole world that you're recording it, because if somebody doesn't want to record, they can opt out, and then they're not going to be recorded. Okay, fine. So the recording started, and we were rolling along for a while, and we were discussing transcending the ego. That was our topic. And all of a sudden, recording ended. And there we were. And we didn't know if we were talking to each other or if we were talking to Mumbai, or, who are you talking to? You're just looking at a camera. We couldn't even see anybody because it was on Facebook. So it wasn't like we were seeing 50 or 100 people.
We were looking at ourselves.
We were looking at ourselves. Anyway, so it was this very kind of, off-balance moment, you might say. And of course, then, we started texting people. All of this is live on the camera. We found out later we were live the whole time. And we didn't goof up, we didn't start jumping around, when in danger, when in doubt, run in circles, scream and shout. We didn't do that. So, but nevertheless, there's this little moment of what's happening. We think we lost you. Did we lose you? And fortunately, one of our friends in Mumbai texted us and said, "You are still live." Their internet connection must have gone down. Our hosts were offline for a little while. Fortunately, we were the hosts at that moment, so we were still online. Anyway, all of this is to say that talking to a camera, while it can be inspiring, is not the same thing as talking to actual people in the room. It's like, wow. And I also have to add, because many of you have come to the Babaji Garden for Sunday service, and it is divine. It is lovely to be out there in the garden with the fresh air and the breeze, and occasionally the dog barking, or the football game playing, or the guy hollering at the dog, or whatever. You get a mixture of elements out there. It is lovely. However, I will say this also, that being in a temple keeps the energy right here, and it's really, really wonderful. It's very powerful. I don't know if you all can feel that as well, but I certainly feel, and let me tell you, the comparison from 15 months of doing Sunday services, looking at that camera and looking at Chaitanya, and looking at Chaitanya is wonderful too.
We're very grateful for
Chaitanya. Just saying. But it's not the same thing as having a room full of people to talk to. So anyway, I will now finish my digression and get back to the topic. But Nirmala gave a beautiful image, the image of the sun. The math was a little funny there, but it's 98% and 2%.
You told me it was 99.
Well, I know, but then it can't be 2.
Oh, yeah, right.
Anyway.
Sorry
Whether
about
it's 98 or 99 or it's 98.5, anyway, whatever it is.
I haven't measured it myself.
No, I haven't either. It's a lot, let's just say. It's most of what's there. But anyway, that image reminded me of another image, which is one of the Voyagers, the probe, the little satellite that got shot out decades ago, back in the 70s. 2 of these probes got sent out 2 weeks apart, different trajectories. They're both out beyond the solar system now. But anyway, one of them, again, by magical means, as it got out past the orbit of Neptune, they figured out that this was kind of the last moment when they could reliably take a picture of Earth from the distance of like 3 billion miles or 2 billion miles. It was a long way away. And so they turned the little guy around and had this little satellite shoot this picture, which has now kind of become iconic. And so you see, the Milky Way in the background, you see bazillions of stars, and you see in the middle of it all, you see this pale blue dot, a little tiny dot. And the message was, guys, that's where it's all happening. It's like that little tiny thing in the middle of this incredible universe is where it's all happening. And so I will just segue onto what Nirmala was saying. My Lord, there's a lot of commotion going on this little tiny pale blue dot. And we think, oh my God, it's so important. And what we don't realize is that we are that entire universe. The universe is all inside of us. I remember when I was first on the path at Ananda, and we lived in tents, but we came down the hill from what is now the expanding light. Didn't exist at the time. It was just a foundation. And we came down the hill from expanding light to the place where we had these very, very rustic shower facilities. When I say rustic, I mean, it wasn't even like a shower head and plumbing. I mean, it was like there's a faucet that we did have hot water. But what we did is we had 2 5-gallon buckets, and you could do the hot water in one and the cold water in the other, and then you could mix them up and do whatever you wanted. But anyway, and I remember coming down the hill one fine morning, and this was outside, there was no roof on it. And Divine Mother decided to give us all a shower. and the heavens opened up and it just cut loose and it was just, and I remember, so, I did the hot water because it was going to be cold water everywhere else, and quick got under cover to dry off. But I remember asking somebody who was a little more senior to me on the path, probably by about 6 months or something. But at that time, that was really a lot more senior. I remember asking, so is all this happening inside my spine? This incredible storm that was going on with the lightning and the commotion. And she sort of thought about it and said, well, yeah, I suppose it is. I think I had bent her mind a little farther than it was used to going. But in a sense, all of the drama of the world is part of our own being. And we have to learn to look for the light inside. Otherwise, it's a complete mystery. That the guy bumbling around in the catechisms, bumbling around in the catacombs, having cataclysms in the catacombs, is not able to see without light. And that's us without the divine light. We sort of smash into life and wonder why we get bruised up from it. And we don't have to. And in the Bible, there's a beautiful phrase, which I can only paraphrase, but it comes from Revelations. And basically it's saying, in that place meaning in the heavens, or in the highest level of awareness and realization, there shall be no night, and they shall not need any light, any external light, in other words, because they have become the light. And that's what you see in the imagery of a saint. A saint is often depicted with this aura of light, usually around their head, but it can be around their whole body, which is the aura, the energetic body. And why is theirs light and ours not? It's because their energy is entirely focused and has been consumed, all of the, just as in these readings, all of the attachments, all of the desires, all the sort of thwarting cross currents have been consumed by this divine fire of devotion. And it ignites inside and it makes one glow. Recently, a week ago, our first function here was an astral ascension for Jim Benish, who passed away in the community a couple of weeks ago today. And we were there just minutes after he left the body, and so we were able to see his body, see him glowing. He looked like a saint. And I just remember, and I even mentioned this last week, I remember thinking, you cannot get that look without putting in the work. You don't get there. You don't crash into that look. It's not going to happen that way. You have to have earned it. You have to have climbed that mountain. And that climbing is step by step by step. And it takes effort, but there is grace. And, Yogananda's mother, in the example from the reading, she's not telling Yogananda, sit up straight, pray, I will heal you if you behave properly. She's saying the divine light will heal you. We have to get ourselves transparent enough. We have to get ourselves open enough. We have to, open the shades on the skylights of our consciousness. But we don't create the light, but we can jolly well transmit the light. We can receive the light. We can reflect the light to other people. And that may be a potential that we, may not have sort of grasped or understood or experienced in our lives, but it's still very real. We are all of us potential healers in this world. We have to learn to move the light, to operate the light, or to channel the light to other people. But that light is what manifests us all. So let's learn now to tune into it. Look for it in meditation, serve with it to other people in whatever way we are called to do, but know that that is our true home and our true reality. And yes, we live in the world. Yes, we operate through the senses in this duality. That's fine. We have to, the senses were given to us for a reason. They're not our enemies. The hot stove has no personal animus against us. It's not trying to burn us. It's just, the senses are just saying, yo, dude, don't touch the hot stove. It hurts. Stay back from it. Okay, then we learn. But if we start to live in the senses and identify with them, then we get caught in this horrible roller coaster. And something pains us and we think, oh, that hurt. Or I'm sick and I can't breathe properly, or whatever it may be. And we think, oh, that's me. No, 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 no. Pale blue dot is the entire world that we live on. And that's part of this vast universe. We are that universe. We are that broad awareness. We have to go inside, counterintuitively. We have to go inside in order to find it and to realize it.